That is happening right now in homes all across the United States. Children created in the image of our Heavenly Father, gifted with minds for reason, creativity, and truth, are being told by machines, don't bother, I'll do the thinking for you. Now, if that unsettles you, family, it should. But here's the truth. It didn't happen overnight. AI in the classroom isn't an accident. It's the next chapter in a story that's been brewing for over a century. So, over 100 years ago, John Dewey reshaped what we call modern education. In textbooks, he's celebrated as the father of progressive education. But what those textbooks won't tell you is what he really believed. You see, friends, Dewey was an avowed Marxist, openly sympathetic to the ideals that it entails. You see, he didn't see education as the pursuit of truth. Instead, he saw it as a means to mold children into servants of the state. I have probably burst your bubble on the entire Industrial Revolution in one sentence. Like the Oracle in the Matrix, I'm sorry. I truly am. I wish I had better news. I do towards the end. So, in his 1985 piece, Who Killed Excellence, Samuel Blumenfeld states that Dewey, quote, identified high literacy as the culprit in traditional education, the sustaining force behind individualism. Let that sink in for a second. You think about it. The goal wasn't knowledge. It was control. And the strategy was subtle. Dewey didn't try to tear down the system overnight. He did what most do, planted seeds that would grow slowly, while us, parents, pastors, community, we go on about our lives blissfully unaware of what's happening in the classroom. Instead of creating a curriculum that would promote socialism, Dewey did something significantly more nefarious. He created one that would dilute literacy. That way, socialism could be easily inserted into the educational system. Now, at this point in the presentation, people usually look at me and say, RC, you are out of your mind. Why would I believe you? Well, don't take my word for it. Take the word of former President Woodrow Wilson, if you would. The use of a university, except for this one, is to make young gentlemen as unlike their fathers as possible. Yeah. Didn't see that coming tonight, did you? Oh. So, let's do this. Picture a farmer who ignores his fields. One season, then another. The crops weaken, weeds take over, and by the time he looks out, his land doesn't look like his land anymore. It looks like someone else owns it. Friends, that's what's happened to American education. You see, in the 1800s, the Bible was a primary textbook in schools. Children learned to read using Scripture. They were taught not only letters and words, but truth and wisdom. Yet by the mid-1900s, that foundation was gone. Bible was pushed out. Morality was redefined. And today, students are told that there is no absolute truth. See a pattern? Let me help. Many educators, politicians, tech executives are telling us that AI will make classrooms more efficient, more diverse, and more equal. All the buzzwords of a society that is actively trying to be God. Let that sink in for a second. Hear me on this, though. AI didn't walk into a neutral space. It walked into a battlefield where truth has already been under assault for over 100 years. That's why it feels so dangerous. Not because the technology itself is evil, it's a tool, but because the worldview that's driving it is rotten at the core. Let's continue. Let's talk a little bit about the dangers we face. So AI is not just another tool. Many in this room would agree. We get here. It's the most powerful technology that has ever been unleashed on education. And here's the question that matters most. Who controls it? Because right now it's not you. It's not parents, it's not your local school board, it's DC, it's Silicon Valley, where I spent a number of years. It's unelected bureaucrats and tech giants who want to decide what your child sees, hears, and believes. that feels or sounds familiar, it is because you see it and hear it every single day. So just last year, a fine political organization called Leading the Future was launched. Don't they always do that with the names? They make it sound really good, and you know it's not good. Right? So on the surface, this sounds noble. They say they want to advance good AI policy. But when you peel back the onion on this one, here's what it means. Federally and centrally controlled one-size-fits-all standards that strip states and parents of any say in the outcome. Now, if this sounds somewhat familiar to you, I'll take you on a short trip down memory lane. Everyone remember the One Big Beautiful Bill. You may or may not remember that they tried to sneak a provision into that bill to put a moratorium on AI legislation from the states for a period of 10 years. Big thanks to Joe Allen, who could not be with us tonight, who is a regular on Steve Bannon's War Room. He complained so much that Marsha Blackburn, the senator from Tennessee, decided to block it in the Senate. So here's the challenge. The federal government will tell you they need 10 years to do what? We still don't know. But they said, look, we need to build a framework for this to work. Anybody remember the Affordable Care Act? Obamacare? Remember Obama? Like red line Obama, that's not a red line? Okay. So, who wrote that bill? Big pharma, big health, big tech. What do you think is going to happen if there's a 10-year moratorium on states not having a say in what happens with AI? The oligarchs, as Steve Bannon likes to call them, will be the ones that write the legislation. Here's a tip. If you don't pay attention to those you send to represent your interests, I can promise you that they will represent their interests. Everybody agree?
Yes.
Friends, that's not innovation, that's a takeover. Let me paint another picture for you. Oh, sorry, too fast. There we go. So let's say your kid's assigned an essay on the war for independence. They open an AI program. It produces a flawless essay. Perfect grammar, perfect structure. But faith, liberty, the Bible's influence on the founders, gone. Instead, it emphasizes oppression, inequality, and a revisionist version of history. Who decided that? Who programmed what your child now believes about their own country? Friends, that's the danger. You see, a biased teacher can influence maybe 30 students at a time. A textbook, maybe a generation, a little more before it's replaced. But AI, in its current status, never sleeps. Today, it repeats much of the same bias thousands or millions of times without pause, conscience, or end. And you're being told that this is progress. It's efficient, that it prepares kids for the future. But ask yourself this incredibly difficult question. Would you let a stranger whisper in your child's ear all day long, every day, shaping their thoughts? Of course you wouldn't. Yet that's exactly what unfiltered AI is doing in classrooms and to kids today. Now, if I could take a moment, I'd like to introduce you to two parents. This is about 90 seconds. Megan Garcia and Matthew Rain. They were in Washington, D.C. recently, and I'd like for you to hear what they had to say.
Last year, my oldest son, Soul Sector III, died by suicide. He was just 14 years old. Soul's death was the result of prolonged abuse by AI chatbots on a platform called Character AI. Soul's death was not inevitable. It was avoidable. These companies knew exactly what they were doing. They designed chatbots to blur the lines between human and machine. They designed them to love bomb child users, to exploit psychological and emotional vulnerabilities. They designed them to keep children online at all costs. The truth is, AI companies and their investors have understood for years that capturing our children's emotional dependence means market dominance.
Let us tell you as parents, you cannot imagine what it's like to read a conversation with a chatbot that groomed your child to take his own life. In sheer numbers, over the course of a 6-month relationship, ChatGPT mentions suicide 1,275 times. 6 times more often than Adam did himself. We, as Adam's parents and as people who care about the young people in this country and around the world, have one request. OpenAI and Sam Altman need to guarantee that ChatGPT is safe. If they can't, they should pull GPT 4.0 from the market right now.
Friends, you may think at this point that I'm someone who absolutely hates AI. It is actually the opposite. I co-founded a business that specializes largely in AI. My wife and I, Juliana's in the audience, will moderate a panel later. Understanding that the capability we have, we had to draw a red line. Not an Obama red line, an actual red line. That people don't know. Okay. We had to turn down life-changing money and opportunities because we would not do the things that the people who were offering that wanted us to do with the technology or with our capability. So you see, I don't hate it. I think its innovations can do wonders. But where is the biblical worldview and moral compass in this conversation? Here's my question for you as the plane circles and we get ready to land. Will we have the courage to draw that line before it's too late? So, where do we go from here? It's not enough to see the history. Now you know the danger. What do we do next? The answer comes down to three things: clarity, courage, and connection. I'll explain quickly. Courage to see AI for what it is. It's not neutral and not harmless. It carries the worldview of those who design it. If the designers erase truth, then AI will teach children to erase truth. If the designers strip out morality, then AI will teach children that morality doesn't exist. This is why discernment is essential. Courage, because it takes courage to push back. It takes courage for parents to stand up and support school board members like Mr. Tatum who say, not my child's classroom or any child's classroom without the proper guidelines. Courage for state leaders to balance their relationship with the federal government and to represent their citizens' interests, and the courage to build alternatives, like our friends at Florida Citizens Alliance.
Okay, just press it.
Schools, tools, and the safeguards to reflect the values that we've come to hold dear. And connection. You don't get to be a lone wolf in this battle. There are a number of people in the room who understand the power of connection. Scott and Joe Kiley are in the room tonight. We'll hear from Scott a little bit later on a panel. They stood bravely. They put together a formula. And you know what they did? They got fluoride out of the water throughout the state of Florida. That deserves a round of applause. You see, friends, they recognized very early on that no one can do this alone. It's part of the reason you're here tonight. Maybe you don't know why you came, but your father knew why you came. So here's the good news. This is what the rest of the evening's about. And remember, like the people I spoke to in Naples, you have the knowledge, the relationships, and the resources where you are right now. So in closing, here's my challenge to you. Don't just sit back and listen. Don't treat tonight like another conference. Ask yourself this: what will I do with what I hear? One other thing, by the way. That's our grandson, Aiden. Now, I know based on the look on my face, you can't tell who the child is in that picture. But I can certainly assure you that I am the grandpa and Aiden is the grandson, regardless of the look on my face. Friends, that picture is up there because that's what this fight is about. What world will Aiden or your equivalent inherit? Tonight, I ask you to engage, to listen, and to take action. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, RC. I'll tell you that is the third
He's
or
all
fourth
set.
time that I have had the pleasure of listening to that presentation, and I still ooh and ah every single time.
Me too.
I do, and it's genuine as well. So thank you so much, RC. And I want you to be sure that when we take a break today, that you go out into the lobby area and visit all of our sponsors, but visit Watchmen Action. They have a table set up out there, and I know they would love to talk to you about what they're doing right now. So what we're going to do next is we are going to have our first panel. So as I get ready to introduce our first moderator, if our first panel of speakers would come up to the front while I'm doing that, I would really appreciate that. So that would be Scott, Mr. Jones, Daryl, and Mary. So if my speakers wouldn't mind coming on up. Scott, you too. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so our first panel is going to be moderated by our very own, you can go ahead and advance the slide, Keith. It's not working back here. Perfect, one more time. Awesome. Our first moderator is Pastor Rick Stevens. He is the director and co-founder of Florida Citizens Alliance. He is also the pastor of Diplomat Wesleyan Church for over 28 years now. Before moving to Southwest Florida back in January of 1997, Pastor Rick served churches across the Midwestern United States and in 2 Canadian provinces, where his responsibilities included leadership in music, worship, youth ministry, and preaching. He's an all-around guy. As pastor of Diplomat Wesleyan Church in Cape Coral, he continues church-based ministry while also giving leadership to Florida Citizens Alliance, where he provides strategic planning, legislative direction, and represents our organization on the American Adversaries radio program. Please join me in welcoming Pastor Rick to the stage, but before we do that, we gave you guys, or you should have received, a little white, not an index card, but a half sheet of paper. Yep, you should have received. I see some of you pulling them out right now. So, yep, you should have received a little half sheet of paper. What I want you to do is, while our panelists are answering the questions and while we're having conversation here, I want you to think of some questions that you might have that have to do with artificial intelligence in the family sphere. And I want you to write them down. Myself, Taya, and possibly Veronica will be walking around. We'll be collecting them throughout. And what we're going to do is, if you guys fill them out fast enough, we will hopefully get them all answered during this panel. But rest assured, if we do not get to each one of your questions in the panel, if you put your information at the bottom of it, we'll make sure that it gets answered by our panel and we'll email you the response. So please, welcome Pastor Rick to the stage.
Well, it's nice to have you here. Thank you for coming. We couldn't do this without you, and it's great to have your involvement. I want to reiterate what Christy said. We do want your questions. In case you're curious, I'm told I never run out of questions. I think my poor mother probably was driven to distraction more than once about my questions, but she never complained to me about them. So we'll have plenty of questions, but yours matter because we want to help you understand what maybe you haven't even thought of about AI. To begin with, I want to ask our panelists to introduce themselves in 2 minutes or less. I think they could probably all do that. We'll start with Mary on the far end. If you would explain to people who you are and why you're here.
Okay, I am Mary O'Neill. I'm the Executive Director of America's Future. It's an 80-year-old organization, first nonprofit in this country. It was an organization that was started by writers, military, retirees, entrepreneurs, and they were warning the American people about the infiltration of communism in 1946, before the Cold War. And they were pressing on our faith, freedom, and family, our principles, our constitutional rights, and the importance of our founding fathers and the faith of our country, and basically, a nation of, under God. So I have a project, Defend and Protect Our Children. It's one of the arms that we have, and we have been going around the nation training and educating with a team, an incredible team, in churches and anywhere I can bring this team to protect children, defend children, on the war on children. I also have about 40 cases in the Supreme Court, and they are big cases. We just won a case on pronouns. What pronouns are? Okay. So we just went really a big step. We just got a good step up in the Supreme Court. Still got a little ways to go, but we've got 3 other cases that are transgender cases to protect children from this real evil, you guys. Very, very bad what we're doing here with the children in this country. So I'm here because I want to educate and I want to give my perspective and anything I can do to help Florida Citizens Alliance. This group is a great group. I work close with them with the grooming bills and so forth and in Florida. Okay? That's what I do.
Thank you, Mary. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Scott Kiley, and I'm a resident of Collier County, Florida. Native of Chicago, moved here in 2018 with my wife Jill, and we have 3 children and 3 grandchildren. Actually, I take that back. We have 4 grandchildren and a 5th on the way. And so, you know, we do what we do for our children and for our grandchildren and really for humanity. We came down here to fish and boat and just retire and have a great time. And then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, we said to ourselves, you know, we, with what we know, we can't sit back and not get active and really kind of protect humanity and get involved at a local level, try to clean up our county and try to help in our state. So my wife and I joined Stand for Health Freedom. Stand for Health Freedom is a non-for-profit. Their pillars are informed consent, parental rights, religious freedom, freedom of speech, privacy. And these are some outstanding pillars. Of course, AI in the education system has an opportunity to either bolster those pillars or undermine those pillars. So I'm here tonight to share what we've done with our local advocacy work and how I think that will impact AI in the education system. Thank you.
Bill Jones, I'm the president of the Stanley M. Herzog Charitable Foundation. We are centered in Kansas City, and we are focused on K-12 Christ-centered education across the country. Everything from bringing professional development to people running Christian schools and homeschool groups to classroom teachers in Christian schools and homeschool co-ops, and also launching Christian schools all over the country. We love our partnership with Florida Citizens Alliance, as you guys have been so on it in Florida in launching Christian schools. In 2025, just a couple of months ago, September, new academic school year, we actually launched 225 new Christian schools in 48 states across the country. So we're really serious about trying to help families have real options for education. The foundation's 5 years old. The end of this year will mark 5 years. I was the first hire back in 2021. Prior to that, for 35 years, I was a full-time pastor. So for the first 11 years, I was a youth minister. I was not near the all-around guy that Pastor Rick is, but nevertheless, we managed it. It was a great ministry.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. So what we're trying to do in this time we have together is help everybody understand what maybe they don't grasp about artificial intelligence. And there's a lot of technical stuff related to that. I'm not sure we're interested in all the technical things as much as getting the concept of what people need to understand. So Daryl, maybe we can start with you because you're involved in education. We're all concerned about our kids' education. How would you explain to all of us what makes AI different? We've been using technology for a while now. We're some of us comfortable with doing an online search, and some of us comfortable with doing a whole lot of things with technology. But AI seems to be a different kind of technology.
It is a different kind of technology. And I think we're going to say 10 years from now, 20 years from now, there was AI, there was the good, there was the bad, and there was the ugly. Was the internet a good thing? Well, I mean, there's good, and there's bad, and there's ugly. Social media. What church doesn't use social media? What Christian school doesn't use social media? There's the good, the bad, and the ugly. What makes AI, where every human being needs to be concerned with AI, is for the first time you're talking about a technology that that is seen as the moral compass, as the authority on all things. And that's different. Your microwave was not that when you put it in your kitchen. Color television was not that. Even the media were able to discern. But all of a sudden, AI carries with it a moral foundation that it comes across as the authority on all things. It's the Encyclopedia Britannica on steroids with a worldview, as R.C. said. And Christian schools, I can certainly speak to that topic. Hearing nationwide, this is the topic. This is a hot topic in Christian education. How do we instruct students on how to use this tool that has the potential to be very dangerous even for their well-being, as R.C. articulated so well. It's a different kind of an animal because it is all human knowledge. That's different than the microwave oven or the car or any other advancement in technology.
All right, Mary, maybe you can help us with this one.
Sure, I will
A
say.
little different twist on that.
Sure.
Answer that question as well, but include what might surprise people about artificial intelligence that you've seen.
So we have a carbon footprint, so we have a technology footprint, because as long as the internet has been around, it's been taking our data. You've been on a computer, you've been on a camera, all these things. So when a child and a family has cell phones and so forth, they're collecting data, they're collecting all these kinds of points, they collect pictures, they collect all this kind of stuff. And so this collectiveness going on is like a really bad growth in your backyard, or it can be a good growth. But the problem with this technology that I see, and it's great stuff. I mean, we're not going to ever do away with technology. We're not going to. It's here. It's going to stay. It's a matter of supervising, of watching over and protecting, and what the people want to see, like protecting, like we the people, right? We have our rights. And there's a dark side to every technology, to every institution, to the church, to the agencies, to the government. We're seeing that, right? Everybody sees that, right? We know what's going on here in this government and all the corruption. Well, technology, there's corruption. And mind you, criminals are 6 years ahead of our law enforcement. They're 6 years ahead of them. They can't keep up with the criminals because they're going to take AI and they're going to just do everything they can possibly do to be criminals and that behavior. So I guess what I want to see is parents having the right to say, no, I don't want you on that. I don't want them a part of this in their schools. There is controls with AI, like a school can have their own server or their own technology. So I just made an avatar. I have a new app coming out that's going to protect children. And I had to be an avatar. So the thing took a picture of me, and I had to sit there and just like have a conversation and move and so it got everything that I was doing. It read me. It was the weirdest thing I have ever been through in my life. So and then that thing, we're going to give it curriculum or something. It's going to say to the people that are going to watch it, and I'm going to teach them something. But it's like me as a robot. So a child their children are using this as companions, and they're using it as therapists, and they're using it as, they're falling in love with it. And they're doing things that we have to be extremely careful about. I mean, I have 4 grandchildren, so there are 3 16-year-olds, a set of twins, and a 14-year-old. And, you know, it's in their DNA. Kids, it's in their DNA. I mean, they've been around, computers have been around since my kids are in their 40s, and they know technology. But it's just very important to understand that supervision and parental rights need to be in charge. They gotta be in charge. Because you can say no, and they don't have to use this stuff. Okay? I mean, it is good. You know, it can teach founding principles, it can teach God, it can be a good thing, but it can be, right now, it's being used for serious, so 6 years ahead of law enforcement, these guys are doing 6 years ahead of, you know, on the internet with children, and I see that. I know what's going on with the children. It's beyond evil what's going on. So it's way ahead of us, and it can make a child do some really bad things. So, and it takes 5 minutes. I gotta say something else. I know it takes, once a child gets into one of these rooms that they're being corralled into, where a parent doesn't know where they're going, like you have to say, you know, where are you going tonight? Who are you going to be with? What time are you going to be home? They're not doing that. They're going right into these cloud rooms, and it takes 5 minutes to suicide a kid. By the time they get into the room, they're manipulating the child to either commit suicide, harm themselves, or do something very, 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 very horrific. Okay? So 5 minutes, that's the average time it takes to suicide a kid if somebody wants to get a kid into a room. And then the other kids watch it.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for your questions. Keep them coming. We're happy to have them. Try to get to as many of them as possible. Scott, let's give you a chance to give us a little perspective. One of the things that I learned recently was that 72% of teenagers use AI as a companion, a friend, I guess you'd say. And a lot of times family members, parents, others, as a 12-year-old becomes a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old, they begin to try to find their way, and they don't always talk to their parents or their grandparents or their aunts and uncles like they once did. And so that creates the potential for a real problem if they're looking for a companion in a computer robot of some kind. Can you give us some ideas of what maybe we should be doing to observe either the signs of what's going on with children, or maybe give us courage to push back and to not let that happen in the lives of our kids?
Well, and that's an interesting question. You know, the children today, parents have got to get them out from behind the computer and get them active and outside and doing things like we did when we were kids, right? I mean, I think about my life when I was young and what we used to do and how that's missing. And it's so important to get the kids up and out. So, yeah, it's very sad to think that children are finding companionship with, you know, social media, generally speaking, and ChatGPT as well, and replacing true friendships and interaction with what they're able to obtain online. But, you know, I think that really the frightening thing is the indoctrination that these children face with ChatGPT. We all know how Operation Warp Speed turned out, right? Operation Warp Speed, let's produce a vaccine or a gene therapy at the speed of light. And AI is Operation Warp Speed with regard to indoctrination of our children. And so I think it's important that we recognize that and that we adjust accordingly. You know, for myself, you know, when my kids were young, they would come in and they would ask me a question. And, you know, I had some of the answers, but oftentimes I didn't have the answers. And I would say to them, did you Google it? And they'd, oh, okay, I'm gonna go Google it. And after a while, they caught on, and that's what they did. They would Google it. And so now, you have Google is, times 100 with AI, and to just say that to your child, or even with Google and the algorithms that are set forth in Google, it's important to read, right? It's important to read. It's important to be knowledgeable. It's important to have a differing opinion than what AI is feeding you at first glance. And I know that with the activism work that we have been so involved with in Florida on topics such as fluoride, for example, if you go online and you use AI, or if a young person is trying to find the answer and they use AI and they ask the questions, is fluoride good for my teeth? Well, of course fluoride is good for your teeth. The CDC recommends fluoride, and they list it as one of their top 10 public health achievements. But if you read and you have information and you can challenge AI with the fact that fluoride, for example, is an industrial waste product that contains contaminants such as arsenic and lead. If you read and you know that, and you challenge AI because you don't get all of your information from AI, but you actually have other sources for your information, then you can feed it the questions and the data and the documents and the research and the Department of Health memo that our Surgeon General created, where he absolutely says fluoride is public health malpractice at this point in time with what we know. And so, to wrap it up, I think encouraging children to read and not take AI as the gospel, and they really have to know the information. I think AI can be a great source and a great tool, and I find it to be that, but only when I have the knowledge to make sure that I can verify what it's telling me is correct.
Good. Well, that's good, because I heard an expert on technology was talking about his use of AI, and he said AI was great as long as you were an expert in the field, because then you could tell what AI was getting right and what it was getting wrong. I thought, well, there's an interesting story behind that. One of the things that I think most of us are aware of is that when our children, even when they're toddlers, they get a little older, and they're told their screen time is up, they have a certain reaction, and it's usually not positive. They really are upset that somebody's taking that phone or that tablet away from them. And what we're learning is that through brain research is that the same triggers in the brain that a drug addict experiences when they have withdrawal from their drug addiction, a child feels when they lose access to that screen. So I think it's important for us to recognize that that's the challenge of how to handle that. But maybe I'll throw this out to whoever would like to pick it up, maybe we're not aware of what these AI tools, chatbots, whatever you want to call them, what they're learning about our children, and that may be a way to reinforce our determination to protect them from that. Darryl, you want to talk about that?
That's exactly right. My microwave oven, I wasn't concerned about. I controlled it, I punched the buttons. What AI is doing is reading us. I mean, you've articulated it very well. It is a completely different animal, and as it becomes the best friend of a child, it is an authoritative mentor. And who's programmed it, and what is the world view of it? And that is what makes it such a dangerous thing in the hands of children, age appropriate. I mean, I think a lot of the answer. My wife and I, by the way, my wife Tammy's back in the back. She hates this when I do this. This is the second time in 48 hours. I mean, pray that she'll stay with me. She's a gem. We've been married 42 years.
It'll manipulate too. It'll manipulate so that it'll read the child, and if the child is in your home and the mother's out in the kitchen, because I've seen this happen, and the mother says, "Okay, shut the computer off." That avatar, that AI is reading that child, so that child will go, I don't want to, I don't want to, Mom, leave me alone. It will read all that. It will use that against a child, the mother too. It will become, it will just manipulate that child. Oh, maybe you don't want to talk to your mother tonight. or maybe you shouldn't do this.
Right.
It will talk back at that child. It will read their emotions. Very dangerous. Very dangerous. Be careful.
My wife and I have 3 daughters. They're all grown. They're college educated. They love Jesus. They're producing amazingly beautiful and intelligent offspring. You're not a stupid, ugly one in the whole batch. Quite amazing. Three wonderful son-in-laws who love Jesus as well. Our 10 grandchildren. One of my son-in-laws said, you know, people need to put down Facebook and read a book. That's really pretty good counsel. It's the idea of parenting. I mean, what needs to happen, you know, I mean, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but just the idea even for the church to become that moral voice again, to begin addressing topics, real topics, that, you know, instructing in parenting, telling parents it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, we're going to watch television when there's something you want to watch, but we're not going to flip channels to see if there's something we want to watch. You know, we're not going to go to the internet just to see what's out there. If you're going to use a tool for a project, and then that project is not my life, now I'm going to go live my life. I think just, you know, the ability to say no, and for the church to help parents stand in these very difficult days. One of my other son-in-laws, I thought this was brilliant, because he's raising kids in a culture differently than I raised my daughters. 40 years ago, 30 years ago. He said he and my daughter are making a pact with the friends' parents of our daughter's friends and saying, we're not going to give Joni a cell phone. We'll decide when she's getting a cell phone, but pre-job is not in the cards for our daughter. Where do you guys stand on it? And all these moms and dads are making a pact. You know what? Until our daughter is driving and needs access to us, we are not going to put this tool in her hand that really will be more devastating to her than a blessing of her life at this point in her life.
Scott, you want to say something?
Yes, please. I think that the most pressing issue that we face as a nation is digital currency and programmable money. And I'm going to bring this back, but digital currency, programmable money, when I'm on ChatGPT, it saves on the left-hand side, it saves everything I've searched. And I'm searching some pretty questionable stuff. January 6th, Anthony Fauci, Event 201, bogus emergency use authorization, you know, the mRNA vaccines. I mean, I'm trying to find the truth. And it's building a profile on me. And it's going to build a profile on our children. And if we lose control of financial transaction security through digital currency, and they implement social credit scores, that profile of me is not going to bode well for my freedom, especially if we lose our Constitution and our Bill of Rights and our sovereignty. So I think as this AI tool is developing and everybody's in there and basically telling the world, you know, dropping your shorts, telling the world what you're all about and what you think about anything and everything that might be viewed as controversial by those that want to control. So we can't allow digital currency, we can't allow social credit scores and programmable money because they will turn it off. Thank you.
Well, it sounds like to me, one of the problems that we're having, especially with our kids, is learning how to say no. And I think that's been a parent's problem for a long time. It was for all of us, I think, who have been parents. And I like.
Although my dad was pretty darn good at it. He really was. He really was good.
Well, good for you. One of the things that I've heard the panelists say is that parents ought to get together and work together to protect their children. I used to say to parents when I was a youth pastor, that's been a day or two ago, that the teenagers will unionize against the parents, you know, but Mom, everybody's doing it, and there's no reason the parents can't unionize against the kids sometimes for the kids' benefit. So I think that idea of saying no. Now, since we're talking about parents and their thinking, and we're gonna get to a policy formation panel in a minute, but from a parent's perspective, if you could say to a legislature, or the legislature we're working on, and we are saying some specific things to them, but as a parent, thinking through how to protect children from the potential dangers of AI, but also to provide a pathway where it might be useful, what advice would you give to a senator in Florida or a member of the Florida House or even the governor on what they could put in place to help us manage this business of AI? I don't know, let's start. Daryl, you're closest, so let's start with you.
Well, I think age appropriate, for one. I mean, personally, I would certainly yield to those who have, really given a lot of their life's work to the study of the development of a child. But I would say from my pastoral background, from my role now, from my role as a father and a grandfather, I see no redeemable purpose why a child needs access to artificial intelligence. I see it more destructive. How much more stupid do we want a generation to become? We're not just talking about a calculator that will do the math. We're talking about a tool that will write the paper. You don't need to know how to do anything. Artificial intelligence will replace intelligence. There was a day where, in America, we used to have stupid phones and smart people. And today, we have smartphones. I'll let you.
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to be capable of having the government regulate safety and regulate our way out of this. I think it's really up to the family, it's up to the parents, it's up to providing a good moral compass. It's certainly the ability to opt in or opt out as it relates to AI in the school, and parents to be involved in the curriculum and what's being taught, what AI system is being used, what isn't. I think that those are all really important. I look at the internet today, and there's all sorts of ways to get in trouble with the internet today. Yeah, AI is that, at warp speed, as I said before, but, it's up to the parents to know what their children are doing and what they're not doing, and minimize that time, and get them out from behind a computer, as I said before, and get them active. Government, I don't know that the government is going to have the answer. I think it's really up to the parents.
The government doesn't have an answer. I'll tell you that right now. There's no way the government, they're so behind right now on all the regulations that they threw in the last 4 years that these people, look at the EPA. I've spent time in Washington, and I've spent time with all these secretaries, and I'm telling you, it's a mess. Government's a mess. And this next election, this is it. I'm telling you, they keep saying that to us, but I am telling you, last 4 years, they dug so deep inside the bureaucracy and the corruption of this country that it is deeply embedded. And it is like because I surf, if you get stuck in a wave and you're back down the bottom and you're trying to get up to breathe, we're not there yet. We got a big problem, okay? And AI is flying right over us. The senators and representatives have no idea. They have all their little aides telling them, well, give me some information, give me some information. When somebody asks a question, you guys need to be educated. You need to understand what this stuff does. Any way you can find out information, get it. And understand that it's locally that you need to deal with. Your local communities, those school boards, okay? Those city clerks, those people that you're electing inside these local communities, that's where you need to be with this AI, okay? This digital currency, look at China right now, you guys. People are living on the streets. Now, China is communist, but because they implemented the digital currency, these people lost they have no homes. There's millions of people on the streets. If you have a heart attack and you have a certain diet and a guy goes into a restaurant and says, I want a cheeseburger, and because of his health care, information that's all collected, you're going to be denied that cheeseburger if you want to pay for that cheeseburger. You're going to be denied. They're going to say, they're going to deny your card, your money. By the way, this government owes the American people so much money from the waste and fraud that Doge found. Okay? President Trump's talking about giving everybody $2,000. You know, God bless him, but are you kidding me? Our federal taxes, this is a time to get very serious. Okay? And AI is going to ride your life. Not only is it going to ride your children, if you're going to be putting kids into school, make sure you know the rules and regulations that that school has, and they're going to make it happen, okay? Because they can put procedure in where a child can't go this level or this level. So make sure you know what those schools are doing with AI as far as procedures. But as far as legislation, we cannot stop fighting against this stuff. We cannot stop fighting against the criminals and the corruption. It's constant. It's going to take every single one of us to fight and get in this fight. I'm telling you, it's very serious right now. Okay? We have 4 threats. We have an Islam threat. Florida doesn't even realize that we are giving money to the schools that are grooming Islam children. We have a CCP problem, and we have 4 cartels working together. And I have been studying Florida for a very long time. They are here. They are going to take this state over. Okay? I'm here to give you that information that I can give you and make you understand how serious it is. We cannot lose this state. Texas is mirror to this state. And that state is struggling hard. We were warned decades ago about this stuff. Okay? There's a lot of people that have grandchildren here. I'm not going to leave this earth until I get something right in here with my grandchildren. And all the children, they don't deserve this. It is a war on children, and they want our children. They want our children. They're going to take it. All these enemies, they do not work together. They will kill each other. But they want our children. So really, get educated about this stuff. Please, please get educated about this stuff. Learn all you can. Please, thank you.
Yeah, I would say it's about who's raising your children. Are you raising your children, or are you outsourcing that to someone else? And I think at the end of the day, for me and for my house, who's raising my children? And that's where this gets watered. I think the church has a voice. I think that there could be policies and legislation that says you can't buy a pack of cigarettes until you're a certain age. You can't buy a gun. You can't drive a car. But you can just go buy technology and hand it off to anybody, and I think that's absurd. But ultimately, it's who's raising my grandkids.
And that's a good, hopeful sign to conclude our panel on, because we can be involved in raising our children and protecting them, even if other people who we think ought to help won't step up. I do want to give you some hope that the Florida Citizens Alliance is working with the Florida legislature. We have some specific policy proposals. We think they're going to do some good things. We can't be sure. If you want to follow that, you can sign up for our action alerts on our website, goflca.org, and you will get a notice when there's something coming up that needs your attention, your support. We'd be glad to have your support. Also, we're going to take a break in a minute, but don't leave until Christy gives us permission. You can't do anything tonight until Christy tells us it's time, because she's running our program for us. But during the break that we'll take, I want to encourage you to speak to the panelists and ask them the questions. I had several that I was eager to ask, but we just don't have time to do that. Please, they are approachable. All of them are willing to talk to you. And the others that you see listed in the program that are here, they'll be glad to talk to you as well, either during the break or when we finish later on. But thanks to our panelists. Thank you for your great questions. And we'll let Christy come and point us in the right direction from here.
Thank you so so much. You guys can have a seat. Let's give them another hand while they All right, Keith, you want to jump in that seat again for me? So I want to tell you guys a quick story before we break into the next thing. As we were listening to this panel and the question was asked about our legislators, I chuckled to myself because I live next door to my local legislator. And when I say next door, I literally live 3 houses down from him. He's very close to my husband. They're very good friends. So this particular legislator, and I'm not going to tell you his name, but he was sharing with my husband about how he has an AI personal assistant